What's up, everybody? We have a new build video here today for the new season. And instead of abusing Radiant Dance Machines or something, we're gonna do something else on our Hunter. So, I just want to start off with a bit of a shout out to Kimber Prime for being the inspiration for this build. Her channel is about 30 times the size of mine, but if you don't know who she is, she makes a lot of information videos on Destiny that are great. They're short, concise, and they give you all the information you need to know in the format that's like a tenth the length of the bigger YouTubers, and So if you want information on Destiny in a quick format, she's a great place to go, and she gets it to you without all the fluff. So what is inspired this build specifically was her video on Atheris's Embrace. It has a weird interaction with one of the artifact mods. That artifact mod being Thermoclastic Strike, which gives your solar and stasis melees overload. But Atheris's Embrace can make your melees unstoppable after rapid precision hits. So I'm going to get into all the mods you need real quick here from your artifact. From the artifact mods, you will need Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle, Withering Heat, Thermoclastic Strike, but there's some that I'd highly suggest. Of course, Auto Rifle Loader would be a great pick. Hands-On would be another excellent decision. If you're running Elemental Wells with this instead of Charge with Light, Fire and Ice would be a great one to run, as well as Well of Potency. Pyratic Embrace wouldn't be bad. Thermoclastic Blooming would be really good, and possibly even Focusing Lens. And of course, you can't have all of those mods at once. Some of them are more optional, like those fifth column perks. It's kind of your choice there. And with Fire and Ice, I'll get into more of why it's a choice between Elemental Wells or Charge with Light. So let's get into other mods that make this build work. Okay, for mods, let's start off with our helmet. I have a 3 energy strength mod, and then I have 2 hands-ons because melee kills give me more super energy, which is nice for a golden gun, especially bottom tree, since precision kills give me more super energy anyways. So you get a lot of super energy pretty fast with throwing knives. And then, after 2 of those, because they do stack, I have Powerful Friends, which sadly this season it isn't benefiting from hands-on normally being a melee or arc energy mod, but Powerful Friends is still a great mod to have. It gives you, when you get Charge with Light, your allies get Charge with Light, and that's always going to be good. And let's move on to the arms real fast. Of course, these can be changed around to some extent, but my Atheris's Embrace are void, so I loaded it with Charge Harvester, a great Charge with Light mod, and then I, of course, grabbed Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle. I also grabbed Overload Bow, just in case I was rocking a bow and I needed another way to pop overloads, because if I am getting that buff consistently, then I don't have it on my knife. And then I just filled it with Mobility. Mobility and Strength are going to be your 2 best friends with this build, because, of course, you can dodge for another melee if you're running Gambler's Dodge, which is what I normally do anyways. So those 2 are where you want to be. But on arms specifically, if you are willing to shell out what they want you to make Atheris's Embrace stasis, there's something else you can do. There's a stasis arms mod called Melee Kickstart. If you use a fully charged melee, it has a chance to refill at least some of the energy for it, which is great. So what you can do is take off that bow if you're confident enough in yourself and your fire team. So you'd have Melee Kickstart, which costs 4, okay? And then Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle, which costs 1, so now you're at 5 energy. And then you have some options. Since you're stasis on your arms now, you can't take Charge Harvester. So maybe you take Shield Break Charge. So you take that, and then you do have more points that you could put into your stat mod. There's a few other things you could shove into that combat mod slot, and it might work better if you're running Elemental Wells. So I would look into that more if you're running Elemental Wells, just because the different costs of Charge with Light mods versus Elemental Well mods. So yeah, if you have a stasis version of Aether's Embrace, or if you want to do that, melee kickstart is something you should look out for. The chest piece doesn't matter too much. You just have your resistance mods, whatever you want to grab there, and then of course your stat mod, and then I slapped high energy fire on mine. There's a few other choices you can make. Heavy-handed is an option, but with the way that the overload melee works, whenever you or an ally stuns a champion, you do get melee back. So heavy-handed is kind of redundant. Same with melee kickstart on the arms, but I would rather not waste a charge with light charge for my melee to come back when I can do it with just a general mod. I hope you don't mind the fact that I only have 5 energy on this pair of boots, but I really got the point across of what you need here. I put Protective Light because this is a void pair of boots. Protective Light's always going to be good in Charge with Light builds, so yeah. And then I run Double Absolution just because if my team's making a lot of orbs, which they might be if they're running Stasis or Solar, with the melees creating orbs with this season. So you get more orbs, you get more melees and dodges to make sure that you always have your knife ready, and then you can grab a stat slot. Alright, and this is where you have to follow it to the T, basically. So on our cloak, we have Withering Heat. When you cause damage with a solar ability, it weakens champions for a short period of time, and that's of course important when your solar melee is what is stunning the champion, meaning you can quickly dish out a lot of damage to it while it's stunned. And also, of course, we're running Thermoclastic Strike because that's giving us overload on our melee, which doesn't get used all the time, and when you do have that buff from Aether's Embrace, you can't use it, but it's a little bit iffy on that. But Shield Break Charge is what I would use in your final slot. It's only 1 energy, and you should be able to pop every shield type, so it's a good way to get stacks of Charge with Light. That way you can use high energy fire more, or you can take more hits using your Protective Light. And if your team's also running Protective Light, you're making sure they're covered with Powerful Friends. Things could be a little bit different if you're running Elemental Wells, and I'm not really going to cover an Elemental Well version of this build here, but if that is something you want to see, I might revisit this build and focus on Elemental Wells. So yeah, just tell me down below if that's something you'd like to see. For this build, in my opinion, Monte Carlo is the most important weapon. You could actually replace this with a Traveler's Chosen and replace your anti-barrier auto rifle with an unstoppable sidearm, or you could run unstoppable sidearm instead of overload bow. But I prefer Monte Carlo, just that way I have all 3 champion types, and I'm not doubling up on unstoppable because that's not really what I need to cover with this build. Unstoppable is pretty well handled by Aether's Embrace, so I chose Monte Carlo for anti-barrier shields. But in your energy and heavy slots, I highly recommend not going solar, and the reason for that is so you could pop every shield. So weapons I personally recommend would be Wolf Tone Draw, this season's bow. It's arc, it has some great perks. And if you're running overload bow, that means you can always have overload even if you're hitting a lot of headshots. Adored, if you like that, I like it. That's an option in that slot. Uzume, it is solar, but it's great. Salvager Salvo is another great pick. It's just kind of whatever you want in those other slots, but I would recommend, if you're not in a fire team or if your fire team isn't all that coordinated, maybe running Wolf Tone Draw as your energy weapon, just to make sure that you can handle anti-barriers with your Monte Carlo. Or if there's overloads, you can handle them with your Wolf Tone Draw or your knife if you don't have the buff. If you do have the buff on your Athros' Embrace, you can easily handle Unstoppables by yourself. So it's just kind of a situational thing. I personally really like this build. It makes it easier for me to handle champions by myself, and having my team there just to help me clean them up is great. But watch out for having the Athros buff while throwing a knife at an overload champion. You will hear the sound every once in a while, and they will get knocked back by it and get into the position of being stunned, but they'll just snap right back up. Just fair warning on that one. But yeah, that's about this build. I'll have another one next week, and once we know the fate of Radiant Dance Machines, I should have a video specifically on that one, maybe. I'm also waiting on a specific mod to finally come out from the Compass. So, yeah. Another build next week, and I'm going to do them every week. Also, if you've made it this far, you should subscribe, maybe like the video and comment on it too. I have a Twitch, I have a Twitter, Discord, all that should be down below. And yeah, hope you guys like this build and possibly even use it. And I'll see you next time.